Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Oh, baby. Full gear. 4 hours long. 10 matches. 4 matches too many, 1 hour too long, and not enough stories to carry a whole 4 hours. That's the too long didn't listen version of my review. But if you would like to hear me crack some jokes and make fun of this pay-per-view, because I make fun of everything, let's continue. Let's move forward. I am your erstwhile host, MagMongoSlade. Let us start with news and notes. First note is Adam Cole. That's a name I haven't said in a long time. Adam Cole has been gone since, I think, June of 2022. It is now November. So he's been gone almost 5 months. I think he's been gone since the Forbidden Door pay-per-view where he suffered a concussion. Dave Meltzer says that the injury has a number of people concerned about his future in AEW and his future in wrestling, period. And that seems legitimate to me, considering how long he's been gone. And there has been not even an inkling of him coming back yet. There seemed to be a storyline set up perfectly for him if he wanted to come back. They're doing the Ring of Honor storyline with Chris Jericho. Adam Cole is a former Ring of Honor world champion. It seems like, okay, if he's not going to be the world champion of AEW, he could at least be the honorable Ring of Honor world champion again. It's a world title. It's similar in scope. But the fact that we haven't even gone in that direction tells me that he's probably just not ready yet to come back. I know that AEW likes to swap guys in and out. They like to move guys around. And if, you were to say, where is Adam Cole? They'll probably say, well, he was injured. And then they would say, well, maybe he's just taking a break. Like Malachi Black and Miro and so many other guys on the roster who they just don't have time for anymore. Unless he was secretly suspended, like some other people who are always on the roster and are not seen or heard from. Okay. If his concussion was serious enough that he's been sitting on the bench this long and it doesn't look like he's going to come back anytime soon, I definitely feel bad for him. Now, this is all, of course, based off of Dave Meltzer, which you can take with a grain of salt. But it seems pretty legit to me, because not only is he not really not wrestling, but he's not even being talked about. I don't even think they even said the name Adam Cole on television in a long time. Same thing with Miro. Are these guys hurt? I mean, are they dead? I don't know. But hopes everything's cool with Adam Cole. But he definitely got to put some weight on, man. Definitely got to put some weight on. Something got to absorb all this punishment that you've fallen all over the place. You got to get some absorption going on here. You got to put some body mass on, brother. The second note, CM Punk apparently has been dropped from the cover of the video game, which doesn't matter to me as I had no intention of buying it. But for some people, this has become a big to-do because CM Punk was on the cover of the game. And then they dropped a new trailer and people were kind of about CM Punk not being on the cover of the video game. Now, they are still selling CM Punk merchandise. Apparently, they're still selling CM Punk t-shirts. I'm guessing this is all stuff that they had already printed. It's similar in WWE. WWE will continue to sell merchandise even if the character isn't there anymore. Usually just trying to sell the back stock and get rid of it. Now, of course, I don't know for sure that CM Punk is not coming back. I'm just saying for people who are, saying that this might mean something. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. It may just mean that they have t-shirts that they haven't sold yet and they're just trying to get rid of them. That's what I'm saying. Now, in terms of the video game, I don't know if it makes much of a difference if CM Punk being on the cover will sell more games or not. I think that the people who are going to buy the game are going to buy the game anyway. And the people who are not going to buy the game are not going to be enticed to buy the game because CM Punk was on the cover. When you talk about wrestling fans, I can't think of any wrestling fans who are going to say, you know what? I was going to buy the game, but since CM Punk is not on the cover, we don't know if he's in the game or not. We just know he's not on the cover. Since we know that he's not on the cover, Who knows? He might not even be in the game, but I'm pretty sure he is because the roster was finalized at some point while he was still on it, and it's probably too late to take him out of it. That being said, I'm pretty sure that's enough to get the people who wanted to buy the game to buy the game. So I don't think it'll hurt them to change their marketing a little bit. That being said, if they're looking to capture some kind of the mythical, the legendary casual fan, I'm not sure the actual casual fan would have bought the game because CM Punk is on the cover. Many of whom probably haven't seen that guy in years and wouldn't know what the hell AEW is all about. I mean, if that was the case, people would just buy video games because Hulk Hogan was on the cover. And we know that Hulk Hogan has been a part of some really shoddy video games. There's been a lot of Legends of Wrestling style games with, stars on the cover. And those games didn't go and be super successful. Some of them did. But not all of them. Not enough of them to justify doing that. So, if let's take this question to you, the guys with the Xboxes and the PlayStations. Does CM Punk being on the game cover, does it bother you that he's not? And second, are you more or less likely to buy the game now that you know that CM Punk is not on the cover? I think for most people it wouldn't matter. So, there that is. Okay, so let's get into the 0 hour because I had this going while I was eating dinner. So Ricky Starks defeated Brian Cage with the Rochambeau. This is one of those matches where it seemed like Brian Cage used every move that he knows how to do and Ricky Starks kicked out of it. Apparently the finals of the Full Gear tournament was supposed to be tonight, but because Ricky Starks legitimately was injured last week, they had to push back his semifinal match to this week, and they did it on Rampage with Lance Archer. He beat Lance Archer, of course, and now he's wrestling Brian Cage, and he beat him too. So now he's got to wrestle Ethan Page on Wednesday. Ethan Page was on commentary with literally all the charisma and the swag of a high school student. I don't get it. Now, I don't understand it, and I don't care. All right, so ultimately, I don't think Ethan Page is going to win. I think giving Bandito a loss to that guy was awful and stupid, but I'm not Booker of the Year. Again, I just watch this shit. I don't book it. The second match that I watched on Full Gear, the 0 hour, Jun Akiyama versus Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston started this match, the promo to hype the match, with Eddie Kingston being very emotional about sitting at home and wanting to do King's Road, All Japan Pro Wrestling style, and wanted to be in the mode of Giant Baba and Misaharu Misawa and all of those guys. And that's what he grew up watching. That's what he grew up loving. And he grew up a fan of Jun Akiyama. And for him, this is a dream match. And this is what he wanted his entire career. This is the only thing he's ever wanted. And they go out there and they have a match. And this match was, if we're being honest, it wasn't very good. Jun Akiyama's in his 50s. Eddie Kingston looks like he's in his 50s. And this match was for Eddie Kingston and not necessarily for the crowd, even though the crowd was into it, because they're into it because Kingston is into it. Kingston is very emotional about this. This really means something to him. But for me, as far as entertainment value, I found zero in this match. Again, Jun Akiyama is just an old man. He did the job for Eddie Kingston. Kingston cried after the match, bowed in respect. They shook hands. On Twitter, Eddie Kingston, said that he wanted to wrestle him one more time before Jun Akiyama went back to Japan. And it was what it was. The dream match wasn't for the audience. It was a dream match for the damn wrestler. The wrestler himself had a dream. I have a dream that one day I will get chopped in the chest by a 50-year-old Japanese man. I have a dream today. And he got it finally. Praise God. Don't let your memes be dreams, man. Don't let your memes be dreams. If you are a bipolar, half Irish, half Puerto Rican guy sitting in an apartment somewhere in New York, and you dream of one day being chopped in the chest by middle-aged Japanese guys, you too can do this. You too can do it. You just got to get the body of an auto mechanic first. And then, you know, your dreams can come true. So I didn't care. I didn't give a shit about this match. And I'm not going to give a shit about the next one. I don't give a shit about that turtle man that's going to be wrestling on New Japan. Not New Japan. The turtle guy that's going to be wrestling on Wednesday. We'll get there in a minute. But it was nice that Eddie Kingston, a guy who's probably never going to be world champion now, he finally got to do something that he wanted to do. I will give them credit for that. So at least he got to fulfill some kind of goal of his, a personal goal in his professional life. So the actual card. Now, the actual booking of this show, it was awkward because some of it was very good. Some of it was very weird. Some of it was very obvious. Then you had the situations where we probably just didn't need this match. Like some of these matches we just didn't need. But the flow of the card, it was a problem for me because we were smothered in long matches. Like it was match. I think there was one promo segment in this entire show. Now they did show video packages or little vignettes before each match, which helped, but that's only if you already paid $60 for the show. So, like if you already paid $60 for a show, you probably already following the product. They need to do this for Dynamite, for Christ's sake. So the first match was the cage match, Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy wins the match with the snare trap. My favorite part of this match was Christian pickpocketing the ref. I thought that was very good. I thought it was clever. Of course, it took him forever to actually use the key. He got caught by a second referee, and then he got ejected. This led to Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus fighting outside the ring, and my WWE brain kicked in, and I was like, wait a minute, isn't this match over? And I was like, oh, no. Only WWE does the outside the ring. It's the finish thing. They did a spot, the table spot, off the top of the cage where Jungle Boy's elbow hit Luchasaurus. Well, that did happen, but his hip and his knees and everything else hit the damn mat. And I felt like he was going to just tear everything in his legs. But I guess if you're going to do it, now is the time because, well, he's not that old. And this is probably going to be the biggest match of his career for a while. So he defeated Luchasaurus. That's fine. I don't care about Luchasaurus at all. Jungle Boy bled buckets. It's a cage match, so that worked out. To me, I was mostly looking at the performances. I still don't get anything out of Luchasaurus. I'm not attached to his character at all. The storyline works because they've done a good job with the story, except for the fact of Luchasaurus turning on Jungle Boy after he turned on Christian, and none of that was ever explained. But it doesn't matter. If the basic story is they were tag team partners and now they're enemies, and it builds to a cage match, that's fine. And Jungle Boy shows some fire, which is what I always want to see out of a babyface. I always want to see a babyface show some fire, show some energy. He did that. He won. Good decision. Trios match. Death Triangle defeats the Elite. Phoenix used a hammer to bash Kenny Omega in the head and pinned him with a victory roll. So the Elite have a new theme. Apparently it's called Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas. I didn't know what that song was, of course. But I knew it had some kind of 60s, 70s feel to it. And I actually liked it. I thought it was pretty good. For a wrestling theme, it's very unique. This match stands out to me for the very obvious and loud fuck CM Punk chants that started in the early part of the match. It was nearly unanimous. The entire audience was chanting fuck CM Punk, fuck CM Punk, and then started chanting Colt Cabana. Boy. On paper, or at least in this building, it sounds like they made the right decision to bring back the Elite, not CM Punk. That being said, I did see some people try to make an excuse. Somebody on Twitter said that New Jersey doesn't like CM Punk, and that it was a thing back in Ring of Honor that New Jersey was sort of the anti-Chicago, similar to being Shawn Michaels in Montreal. You know, that level of dislike for CM Punk. And that would make sense if Jersey crowds hadn't chanted CM Punk at WWE forever, and that they had booed him when he was in New Jersey for AEW, which none of this stuff occurred. This fuck CM Punk stuff happened, and it only happened in a match with the Elite was there. So it's gonna be hard for me to take this seriously. So the audience made the decision for them. You know, they apparently don't like CM Punk. Okay, cool. I don't like Phil either, so it all works out. Now, for Philip, he was doing MMA commentary where he made the joke about they don't want me in the locker room. I'm trouble or something like that. Basically making fun of the whole situation. And you know what? It's good that he has a sense of humor about it. You know, like, it's good to have a sense of humor about it. There's no point in being bitter. You know, what does bitterness get you? It didn't get you anywhere. So, but of course, it's still up in the air whether he's actually going to continue wrestling or not. Of course, the Elite just have the same match every time they wrestle, and every time they wrestle Death Triangle, for Christ's sake, you know, it's just a bunch of spots. Do I need to go through it? No, I don't. So it was what it was. They announced a best of 7 series in which, from the looks of things, over the next 9 weeks until January the 11th, there's probably going to be some variation of this exact same match. They have this next match planned for the next 3 Dynamites at the very least. I'm shook by this. This is shocking. I cannot believe that they're going to perpetrate this among the public. A best of 7 series. Oh God. No, why 7? Why not 3? And then it was magically that this match, because the Elite lost, was just one match in the best of 7 series. So the best of 7 was announced after the Death Triangle won. So it wasn't announced beforehand. So they may have wrestled differently if they knew they had to wrestle them again. So now it's a best of 7. Oh, Jesus H. Christ. Now, at the very least, they did pay off this storyline of Phoenix and Pac, where Pac wanted Phoenix to cheat. Phoenix didn't feel like they needed to cheat, and has resisted using the hammer to win matches. But in this instance, against the Elite, he gave in, he used the mallet, and he won. So, okay. So the Death Triangle are officially turning heel, right? We'll see how long this lasts. Because there's no such thing as baby faces and heels in AEW. That's what we're talking about shortly. As a matter of fact, we're talking about this right now. TBS title, Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. Who's the heel? Well, Nyla Rose comes out with Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero is wearing a Rhea Ripley t-shirt, the I Am Your Mommy t-shirt, that's done in the same vein as the Eddie Guerrero I Am Your Poppy t-shirt. That was great. I thought that was a nice little nod. You know, I'm not mad at that. Jade Cargill comes out and she is cosplaying Chitara of the Thundercats. So she's not a heel. Nyla Rose apparently is the heel. But Jade Cargill never turned face. Whatever. It doesn't matter. And this match sucked. It wasn't any good. Of course, it couldn't be any good. It's fucking Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. They're really they're doing Jade Cargill a discredit by not putting her in the ring with people who are actually good and can actually help her, or people who are higher up in the rankings that could be legitimate challengers. But I want to talk about this for a second because this was very interesting, and it kind of ties in here. Because Athena now has officially turned heel. They were doing an angle where she's becoming more violent and more vicious or whatever. And this led to her shoving down BoJack referee, Aubrey Edwards. She pushed Aubrey down. And it got a great reaction when it happened. It was kind of like, because AEW did a good job of not touching the refs. So finally somebody did it. Somebody knocked over a referee. They got a great reaction in the building. The problem with that was it was on Rampage, and nobody watches Rampage. If they'd have done it on Dynamite, it might have been a really big angle. If they'd have done it on the pay-per-view or done it on Dynamite, it might have been a really big angle. But instead, they did it on Rampage. I mean, sometimes where you do things is just as important as what you're doing. You know, it's one thing to drop 50, you know, but you did it in a high school gym when there's 3 people there, and people can go around saying like, yeah, man, he had a great game that one time. And people could be like, yeah, but nobody saw it. So it was like, yeah, they did a great thing. They got a great reaction. Athena's turning heel. Now she's got some heat. Probably could be a good contender for Jade. Maybe now. They spoiled, what they had with her when she came in anyway. So they're going to get a second bite at the apple. This time, I guess Jade be the babyface. But this whole TBS thing is a fucking mess anyway. It's all just straight up garbage and not really necessary. And we didn't need this match on the card. This is match number 1 on the card we probably didn't need. We could have gotten rid of this. Would this match have been different if you'd have moved it up 2 hours and put it on the 0 hour show? No, it wouldn't have been any different. Wouldn't it have mattered if you'd have put it on Rampage? Nope. Still wouldn't have been any different. Still wouldn't have mattered none. You didn't need to have Jade Cargill on this show at all. It's unfortunate, but this didn't have the story. The story is weak anyway. The story is that Nyla Rose stole the championship. That's the story. Who cares? Literally, who cares? All right. ROH World Title. Chris Jericho versus Claudio Castagnoli versus Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson. Chris Jericho wins with the Judas effect on Claudio Castagnoli. Sammy Guevara came out dressed like Dracula, or Cunt Dracula, as I like to call him. I don't understand why he was wearing what he was wearing, but he looked like Vampirella, and it's not necessarily a good thing. They, of course, told the simplest stories in the match. Jericho has an ally in this match, and Danielson has an ally in this match, but they're different. Danielson and Castagnoli understand that they could compete against each other and still be friends, while Jericho is the boss of Sammy Guevara. Of course, that boils down to Guevara trying to win the title legitimately, and it was okay. This match was solid. It was a solid match. Some things in it that was a little weird. Claudio kicked out of the Busai Kuni, the Danielson's finish. Bryan Danielson also no-sold a Spanish fly from the top rope in order to get a label lock. I'm just kind of like, it's just spoiling everything. Just nothing matters anymore. Claudio had, I think, Sammy Guevara in a spin, the swing rather, where he did a flying Judas effect, which it didn't look terrible, didn't look awful, but he did another one just in case and pin Claudio. Very odd decision making to pin Claudio here, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Tony Khan's brain. I also don't understand why this is a fatal 4-way. I don't think we needed a fatal 4-way here, but okay, whatever. Later in the show, Jericho talked about appreciating Sammy Guevara and his competitiveness, and that he's not going to take it personally. Then Orange Cassidy showed up. Orange Cassidy says that Tomohiro Ishii wants to have a match with Chris Jericho because Tomohiro Ishii has won some championship in Ring of Honor, and since Jericho put out this blanket champion can challenge thing, here it is. Jericho, of course, said that Tomohiro Ishii was his young boy when he was in Japan, and he still sees him that way. That's his young boy. So, of course, he accepted the challenge. Orange Cassidy then, he challenged Jake Hager to a match for his All-Atlantic Championship, made fun of Jake Hager's hat, and Jake Hager, I like his hat. I'm just kind of like, oh, no. Who wants to see that? Raise your hand if you want to see Orange Cassidy versus Jake Hager. Looking. I don't see any hands up. I don't see any. Come on. Let yourself be seen. You're out there somewhere. There's somebody out here who is not on cocaine who wants to see Jake Hager wrestle Orange Cassidy. Fess up. Who is it? Is it you? Okay. Now, as far as Tomohiro Ishii, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, that apparently legitimately came from Japan. This guy is boredom, the embodiment of boredom, and I don't see why they keep bringing him back outside of the New Japan audience and the AEW audience overlap so much that they have fooled themselves into thinking this guy is some kind of star. Like, this guy is he is a low mid card guy in New Japan, so he's certainly not a top guy in America. So I don't care about this. I don't care that you're gonna. Jericho is too old to be taking bumps for Tomohiro Ishii. If I was Jericho, I wouldn't even be entertaining having a match with Tomohiro Ishii. I would not letting him be chopping my chest all up, because this fucking guy, again, he's basically, I was about to say Mantar, but I wouldn't say nobody's Mantar. Mantar's pretty bad, but he's boring. You know, like, he's awful. What the fuck? Like, why would you? Whatever. Let's move on. All right. Saraya versus Britt Baker, a match that was solid but very dull. Like, it was a very dull match. Saraya on Twitter got into a little bit of a tiff with a fan. A fan asked her who's the babyface and who's the heel in this match, and she said, "What does it matter?" And there was another fan who responded that, you know, this is how they think, and if they don't care, why should we care? And that's a good response. You know, anybody tells you that babyfaces and heels don't matter, that's more ridiculous than wins and losses don't matter. Because wins do matter sometimes, losses do matter sometimes. In stories, when you're writing them, the hero needs to win, or the hero needs to lose, or the villain needs to win and the villain needs to lose. Therefore, the wins and the losses actually matter. Who the heel is and who the babyface is, that actually matters, because that tells you what the story actually is. You know, in this match, there really isn't much of a story outside of Saraya wants to make her big comeback, but Britt Baker is the hometown girl because this is AEW, and Saraya looks like an outsider. So instead of doing something to make Saraya look like she belongs, or something that makes it look like Britt Baker is a hater who doesn't want Saraya there, or whatever the case may be, we decided that we're just going to go with they're both baby faces. And that made this match incredibly dull. Like, why do I care if Saraya wins? What is she for starters, she doesn't win anything if she wins. So why do I care that she wins? Why do I care if Britt Baker wins? She doesn't get anything for winning. You know, and so what's the point? You're not going to tell the story that we don't want to see bad people succeed, which is at least the bare fucking minimum when there's no championships, there's no hair, there's no mask or anything like that on the line. At least there should be the bare minimum if we don't want to see a bad person succeed. If you tell me that neither one of them are bad people, then I'm like, okay, we're just watching a thing here, you know? Because I'm not seeing a bad person get punished. I'm not seeing anybody win a championship. What am I watching here? So now you're left with are you really engaged with Saraya and her comeback? Which I'm guessing is the only thing they were selling this match on. Which is why this match was incredibly anticlimactic on the finish and incredibly dull. This match was muted. It missed a lot. There was a lot that they left on the table on this match. Saraya took some bumps. She played possum once or twice when it comes to the bumps to kind of play with people who think she's going to get injured. But she ended up winning. She won with I don't know what the hell they call it, but it was basically like a DDT type move. It was fine. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. It was barely good. It's one of those barely good matches. You know, if you didn't see it, you don't really need to see it unless you're a really super fan of Paige. You know, it just was what it was. And I guess it has some. It's another one of those matches that was really important for the person in it. Like the Eddie Kingston Jun Akiyama match. Like, this match was really important for Saraya's mental state and for her confidence that she can literally go out there and work a match. And now the fans feel like, oh, okay, she can work a match and it'll be okay. And wasn't the longest match in the world, but it was a pretty lengthy match. She took some bumps, but she didn't take like hellacious bumps. And of course they worked the match in a way where Saraya could look good and she could sell, but she wouldn't put herself in danger, which is smart because you should always wrestle that way. Like you should always wrestle in a way that you don't fall on your head or neck too much. So it was perfectly fine. And I'm glad she got through it, and she's going to build confidence with the matches that she has. I just wish they'd have done simple fucking storytelling and did a babyface and a heel. I mean, apparently that's too much to ask for in wrestling today. How dare you ask somebody to actually work babyface or heel? How dare you? How dare you, write a story and tell us who the heroes and the villains are? You're supposed to figure it out for yourself. I don't imagine, you watching anything and you being told to figure out who the baby faces are and who the heels are for yourself. No, the writer is going to tell you who the baby faces are and who the heels are. You can make your own determination, of course, but generally speaking, the writer is going to tell you who the baby faces are and who the heels are. And, that's how the storyline is going to be written. It's just whatever. It's people trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to do traditional pro wrestling. It's pro wrestling when, they do boring, predictable shit. That's real pro wrestling. That's how things were done in the 80s and the 70s or whatever. But then as soon as they step outside of that, and people are like, I thought you wanted to be like legit pro wrestling, they say, well, we're not beholden to what other people think or what they believe we should do. And it's just kind of like, yo, you just have no fucking idea what your brand identity is. You just don't know. And you know what? In some ways, it's okay to not know. In other ways, it's like you're supposed to be better than this right now. Tell a fucking story, a basic fucking story. Sixth match. Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Samoa Joe. Now, this match does have a storyline to it. Not much of one. Is very thin. But the storyline coming out of this match was a lot more interesting than the storyline coming in. So, Samoa Joe actually won the TNT Championship after choking out Powerhouse Hobbs. But Powerhouse Hobbs was already out because he had been powerbombed like 6 times by Wardlow. So, great finish, by the way. Fantastic finish. I like the finish. The match itself was pretty good, too, because Hobbs was in there beasting. He got to show off. Wardlow is doing his best Jeff Hardy cosplay. I don't know what his obsession with doing this stuff is. He's just got to do Whisper in the Winds and Swanton Bombs. He just got to do it. Whatever gets his rocks off. And Samoa Joe is Samoa Joe. But I really like the finish. The power bombs on Willie Hobbs. JR just kept calling them Willie Hobbs. But the power bombs, they take a lot out of you. So he power bombed Hobbs a bunch of times because he was punishing him for attacking him from behind. So it made sense. He thought Joe was done. Joe then picks up one of the belts, I think it was a TNT belt, and crashes it across Wardlow's head. At that point, Hobbs had been powerbombed, I think, 4 times. Samoa Joe slaps on the coquina clutch, and Powerhouse Hobbs doesn't tap out, but he's been powerbombed a bunch of times, so he's kind of out of it. The referee stops the match. Samoa Joe wins. He is a double champion. He is now the Ring of Honor television champion and the TNT champion. And he refers to himself as the King of Television, which fits. Fitting. Samoa Joe rules. Samoa Joe is very good. This match was pretty good. Clearly, I see now that they booked this match so that Wardlow could lose the belt without being the one who gets beat. And so now we've eliminated Hobbs from this conversation as the guy who lost, which sucks for him because he's legitimately very good and should be in the conversation. But we've eliminated him from this situation now. And now it's going to be Wardlow and Joe going forward, which does wonders for Wardlow because Joe is a formidable opponent that some people would know, and it'll be actually impressive. Even though Joe isn't, prime. He doesn't have to be. You know, it's still a very important thing to beat Samoa Joe because it doesn't happen that often. Even in AEW, it doesn't happen that often. So this is going to be a fun little feud. You know, they went from being tag team partners, which I hated, to Samoa Joe beasting, which is awesome, to Samoa Joe now going all sneaky heel and stealing the title from Wardlow, which rules. You know, now you also have opened up Wardlow to now move forward because of who your new world champion is. But we'll get there in a moment. The seventh match on the show features our WCW Forever match: Sting and Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. This match was made no disqualification, no count out during the goddamn 0 hour because they figured, hey, how can we make this match interesting? Like, how can we make this interesting? So they did some spots with Satnam Singh. Satnam Singh caught Darby Allin off the coffin drop, then launched him on the ring apron. He didn't catch Sting though, and Sting jumped off the barricades. And he just crashed and took everybody out. They did a Sting and Darby Allin Scorpion Death coffin drop on Satnam Singh to sort of eliminate him from the match at that point. Jeff Jarrett hit Darby Allin in the back with a guitar when he was jumping off the top rope for a coffin drop. He also hit him with a guitar, and Darby Allin no-sold it. Darby Allin is like 5'7", 120 pounds, 140, maybe 170 at the maximum. To think that he's no-selling Jeff Jarrett's guitar shots is wild. Just wild stuff, but that's where we are in the business today. So Darby Allin ends up pinning Jay Lethal with the coffin drop. It was fine, I guess. It's fine, I guess. I'm just trying to. It just felt like an extra match. You know, like this match didn't feel like it was necessary for this card. You know, like it didn't feel like this needed to be here. It felt like something you could have done on Dynamite. But, you know, Tony Khan saw that Jarrett and Lethal sold some pay-per-views for the Ric Flair's last match. So he was like, well, I want to sell some pay-per-views too. So he threw them on here. Crazy when your last-ditch effort is to book Jeff Jarrett. Ugh. That gives me the fucking heebie-jeebies. But Jarrett wasn't awful here. Jarrett is fine. And he got some pretty good crowd reactions too. Eighth match on the show could also have been left at home. Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the interim, quote-unquote, women's championship. Jamie Hayter actually wins the title with a short arm lariat. I don't get Jamie Hayter. I don't understand why anybody likes Jamie. I didn't hear her voice ever until this very evening when they showed the vignette of her talking. And she says nothing special. She just says generic stuff. I'm the best wrestler. It's my time now. Yada, yada, yada. It just all sounds generic. Her matches are generic. Nothing jumps out at you. There's nothing special about this. There's nothing major or big league about this. She's got a nice body, I guess. But even that's mid. Like, there's nothing about Jamie Hayter that jumps out in a crowd. It's very weird. It was a very dull match. It was just another one of those, let's go to the bathroom. I started reading Deadly Class. I love Deadly Class. I should talk about it on the Sunday live stream. But I started reading that book. I read the book 3 times on here. I read it during the Jade Cargill match. I started reading some of it during the tag team title match. I started reading some of it here. I ended up finishing the entire trade, the graphic novel. I finished it during this pay-per-view. Anyway, so the crowd didn't wake up for this goddamn match until Rebel came down there and started cheating. It ended up getting a near fall for Jamie Hayter. Then Rebel got ejected. Now the crowd really woke up when Britt Baker showed up and stomped Toni Storm outside the ring and apparently injured her nose. So Toni Storm started bleeding from her nose. This led to a couple of nice near falls, and then before the big finish of the short arm lariat. So Toni Storm, after weeks and weeks of Thunder Rosa should just come out and lose the title to me. I mean, if she's injured, if she says she's injured, then perhaps I should be the world champion. How about that? And now she's not even that. She's not even the interim world champion anymore. They gave it to Flash in the Pan Jamie Hayter, who apparently is only over to this audience at this particular point in time. It is what it is, man. Like, I don't know what Jamie Hayter did to get over. I don't know why she's over, and none of this matters to me. You know, we could have did this on TV. There's another one we could have did it on TV. Clearly, we're going to build up to the Britt Baker Jamie Hayter match. That's where we're going with this. Toni Storm didn't have that, you know, meaning she didn't have something coming out of this, which I know we could have built to Toni and Saraya. I guess we could have built to that, but I guess they find the Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter story to be more compelling because it's been a longer, more evolved story, which I agree with. And it's very interesting that now that they finally started talking about Thunder Rosa getting stripped of the title, as they're trying to sort of sneak Britt Baker into the title picture again. Now all of a sudden they're like, you know, maybe we should strip Thunder Rosa of the title. Maybe, you know, but it is what it is. Jamie Hayter, they can do whatever they want. I just don't see it. I don't see star potential in her. I just see decent to good female wrestler. And that's the maximum. I don't see anything about Jamie Hayter that, you know, Chris Statlander doesn't have, or Layla Hirsch doesn't have. You know, she doesn't really even have a unique look. You know, just nothing. But whatever. I don't know shit, right? Okay, the AEW Tag Team Championship. This is the 9th match on this goddamn show. Swerve and Keith Lee versus the Acclaimed. We got an extra long Max Caster rap, which is his raps are just whack now. I know that some people like them, but they're whack. His punchlines are not really all that good. He picks on safe targets, so it's pretty whack. I swerve when I drive, 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 I swerve. That's all I heard. And I was like, why is he wearing this swirly mat? I swerve when I drive, I swerve when I drive. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? I didn't know that was the lyrics to the song. It's done with the Mike Jones cadence. I don't get it. I don't get what that is. It's just, I swerve when I drive, I swerve when I drive, I swerve when I drive. I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. Where's Rick Ross? For Christ, where's Ricky Rose? You know, where's Trina? Where's any of your rapper friends? God, Swerve, what the fuck? What? Oh. And somebody told me that's really him rapping. I don't think so. It doesn't sound like his voice unless he changes his voice when he raps. Because that's awful. It was a fucking awful theme song. It's terrible. It's a terrible theme song. Swerve and Lee, they have the same exact storyline as Death Triangle, where there's a signature weapon. In this case, it's cable cutters. And Swerve wants Lee to use the cable cutters to stop all of the scissoring and to basically just cheat and cut off the fingers of the Acclaimed. But Keith Lee is a man of respect and honor. He is a good man. Brother Swerve, how dare you try to get me to cut off this young man's fingers? If I do such, how can he hold his children? How can this magnificent athlete, how could I maim him so? Swerve, why are you doing? I swerve when I drive. I swerve when I drive. I'm like, oh, what the fuck, man? This shit is dumb. It's fucking dumb. Don't you realize you just did this storyline? Literally 2 hours ago, you did this exact match where Embrace the Hit, Phoenix used the hammer. And Phoenix then, of course, used the hammer because he's smart. He doesn't want to lose. In this situation, Lee apparently didn't care about losing. Then Swerve escalates. He doesn't just swerve when he drives. He also swerves in the middle of the match. He smacked old milk dud head Keith Lee. Just smacked him like he's a bitch. Like that's wild. That Keith Lee is like 6'8" and he just gets smacked like that. Hilarious. Keith Lee then just walks out. He didn't lay Swerve out and fuck him up and just call it a day. He literally got outside of the ring and walked away. Swerve yelled, whatever. I don't even think he was a legal man at the time. I don't even think he was a legal man. I'm talking about Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee was a legal man when he walked out. But at this point, it's AEW, it's tag team matches. Who knows? Who cares, right? So this thing happened in which, of course, Swerve got pinned. So that occurred. And everyone's happy because the Acclaimed win. Great. FTR is watching their matches with DIY, drinking tequila. He's getting drunk in his sorrows. Bald FTR. What the fuck is his name? Harwood. He's on Twitter talking about, this epic match they had with DIY and Black and Gold NXT in a smoky ass college gym. What the fuck? And he's gonna drink tequila and watch that match with the fans or whatever. I'm just kind of like, man, that's sad. That's sad as fuck. The company you actually work for is having a pay-per-view. You're one of the top guys in it. And they decided, not good enough for this show. Go watch your greatest hits on the fucking network and get drunk. Don't swallow the worm, What the fuck? Weird. Then we get to the most predictable main event. Probably in a long, long time. MJF versus Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley does the JOB as MJF is fed brass knuckles by William Regal outside the ring. This, of course, has led to a lot of more representation argument. We'll talk about that in a moment. So the crowd was 100% behind MJF, even going as far as to boo Jon Moxley and William Regal. MJF motorboated a female fan on his way to the ring. That was something. She seemed to have a kick out of it. He didn't grab her boobs. He just put his face in them. So it was very well calculated by old Max. Hopefully that won't come back to bite him in the ass or something like that later. There was a lot of stuff that happened in this match, but I think largely it was slow and not very good. Of course, the point of this match was, hey, everybody come watch MJF win the title, which sometimes is okay. And I think they might have got away with it here. It's kind of how you steal a pay-per-view, where you don't set it up where anybody could win. It was basically, hey, come watch MJF win the title. I mean, fucking Jon Moxley didn't even know what day the fucking pay-per-view was. The go-home show, he's like, all right, it's this damn thing Saturday or Sunday. I got to know what day my vacation starts. Anyway, Moxley power drives MJF through a table in the middle of the match, by the way, so it didn't go anywhere. They did a double arm DDT off the second rope, too. I mean, just a lot of dropping guys on their heads from high places, and he just can't be stopped. He's the super Jew. He can't be stopped. MJF pulls out his Dynamite Diamond ring and looks to be going to break his word to William Regal. William Regal comes down to the ringside and chastises MJF about having the Dynamite Diamond ring. So MJF got rid of it. They continue to work, and then Regal slides MJF the brass knuckles. He then uses the brass knuckles to punch Jon Moxley in the head a single time, just once. Moxley is knocked unconscious and pinned 1, 2, 3. MJF celebrates by doing Snow Angels in the aisleway, which is, of course, a mockery of CM Punk. Very well done in terms of the finish, even though it was something everybody saw coming. Still, wasn't the wrong thing to do. The wrong thing to do probably was to have MJF lose. So it was the right thing to do. MJF is the world champion. He's the biggest draw. He's the top star. It's the right decision. Now, immediately after this, we started getting a flood of Twitter accounts. Ryan Satin, Brian Last, so many of them. I think Missy Hyatt. So many of them came out of the woodwork. It's so great to have, a Jewish world champion. And I was just kind of like, wow. Like, all the Jews in the media just popped up at once. Like, this dude's been very quiet the last couple of weeks. Like, where were you at when all this other stuff is going on? But I'm not a representation matters kind of guy, because do they still represent you when they fucking up? It's like people only represent you when they're doing good, right? Did MJF represent the Jews when he was motorboating that fan? Did he represent the Jews well then? Is he a good representative of the Jews when he goes in front of the media and starts cursing and all that kind of stuff? Was he a good representative of the Jews then? Like, people, when you talk about representation, you're talking about this person represents us. Does that mean at all times or only when he wins? Does he represent the Jews when he got sent home for 6 weeks? He represented the Jews then? Like, I don't like this representation argument. It's silly to me. It's dumb. But if it's the copium of the masses, it's one of those things that people care about. It's like the Tyrus thing, all the Fightful, the black faces of Fightful and all the black faces of wrestling media. We don't have any black world champions. And then Tyrus wins. And then all of a sudden it's not that guy. We don't want that guy. We don't want, he don't represent me. Like, but representation. My representation. He's black. Hell, I appreciate how dark they made Tyrus on the Jim Cornette thumbnail when they talked about it. Because he was much darker in that that thumbnail than he is in person. He's not that dark. Okay? And I was kind of like, hey, I appreciate the darkness that you added to Tyrus. Showing that his black side. But, it's very weird that, we get this representation thing. But I think somebody tried to explain it by saying, so far, the only real Jewish wrestlers that have been top guys, and even though there have been many, was Goldberg. Was like an openly Jewish pro wrestler who was world champion and a top guy in a promotion. It was Goldberg. And I was like, okay, that was a long time ago. If you decided that Colt Cabana, who is Jewish, by the way, wasn't, a top guy in wrestling, even though he was a top guy in the independents, he was a top guy for a long time in wrestling. Raven is also Jewish. The top guy in ECW, top guy in TNA. He's been a top guy in, not WWE. And this is kind of where they're going with it. They're trying to say, well, TNA had a couple of Jewish world champions. Again, I just said Raven was one of them. But they never got to the heights that AEW has. And therefore, having a Jewish world champion that's not Bill Goldberg in a major nationally televised promotion, even though TNA was nationally televised, I don't think they were at the level that they would become later with Raven. Because Raven was there in 2004, 2005. I think he was a champion in 2005. But they hadn't really broken through yet. So there's been a couple of Jewish world champions that somehow, I guess it's like The Rock, or Booker T or Mark Henry. He doesn't count. Colt Cabana being NWA world champion all that time, that didn't count. Raven being world champion in NWA, TNA, that didn't count. It matters now, damn it, because we want to talk about MJF. We like MJF, so MJF counts. Raven was an alcoholic and a drug addict and all that kind of stuff, so it doesn't count. He didn't represent the Jews very well when he was fucking up. He represented the Jews very well when he was doing good, which was very rarely. So, we accept him now. Very weird. But MJF is the right guy. That's the only thing that matters as far as I'm concerned. He is the right guy, right place, right time. And if they're trying to turn around AEW, he's the right guy. He is the right performer. He's got everything that they could possibly want and is young. Apparently, they have said that he has not signed a new contract. He basically just gets paid more money, but he has not extended his contract. They would not give him the world title if he was going to leave. That's my opinion. I don't think Tony Khan is that much of a mark for MJF. I think that it's pretty clear that if MJF got the world title, which he did, then he re-signed the contract. So there that go. All right, so MJF being the world champion kind of spoils the Full Gear tournament because we know it's going to be Ricky Starks. I'm pretty sure it was going to be Ricky Starks anyway. There was an off chance that it would be Ethan Page because MJF was feuding with the Firm. So you do have that storyline all set up. You do probably have a Moxley rematch set up. You know, you've got storylines with the Blackpool Combat Club where, you know, these guys have been losing a lot now. Now William Regal has sided with MJF over Jon Moxley. What is Yuta going to say about this? Not that I care, but, you know, he's part of this stable. What is he going to think? What is Danielson going to think? What is Claudio going to think? What is Moxley himself going to think? And is William Regal, how is he going to explain himself? So there's a lot of intrigue right there too. And that's when you do a storyline that makes sense and it's pretty good. Even though the storyline for this particular match wasn't very good, because pretty much everybody with eyeballs who watched the show knew that Moxley was losing. And Moxley knew Moxley was losing. And he was basically on a zombie title run for the last month. You know, since the whole CM Punk thing happened, he's pretty much been dead. He's been wrestling nobodies, beating them, swerving his shoulders, and not really having much energy. He was supposed to be on vacation, and Punk was supposed to be the champion. He just ended up this way because Punk self-destructed. So nobody thought he was going to win. Nobody cared. So that took away from the match because no matter what he did in this match to MJF, everybody knew MJF was going to win. So to me, that took away from the power driver through the table. That took away from the double arm DDT from the second rope. It took away from a lot of that stuff. Not to mention that it wasn't the finish, but it also was pretty obvious that MJF was going to win. But they do have some storyline potential coming out of here. So I'm guessing so the Full Gear thing, it is likely that we get Ricky Starks because Ricky Starks is a babyface, or we get Ethan Page because MJF is going to be feuding with the Firm. So I'm going to lean more towards Ricky Starks, but there's that off chance that we can end up with Ethan Page, and that's going to suck ass. Ethan Page is going to get roasted by MJF on the microphone, be just mid and look mid, and just be mid and just spread mid all over the show. We got enough of mid. At least Ricky Starks got energy. He got young guy energy. He's got skills. He got swag. He got charisma. At least he can hang with MJF on the promos. I want that. That's what I'm looking forward to. And if all else fails, you can always revisit Wardlow and MJF. Wardlow is a solid enough babyface. Now, this is, of course, Wardlow is free of the TNT title. He can chase it. He doesn't necessarily have to win it back. Or he could just immediately move into the I squashed MJF. Maybe I should get a title shot. You know? And that would be fun. I think an MJF Wardlow match at this level could be very interesting. So we got some options here. We got no options with Moxley. He's going to be gone. But the Blackpool Combat Club is going to be interesting. So this is what good storytelling can help. You know, I feel bad for people who paid for this pay-per-view, but the stories coming out of it is better than the stories going in, which tells me that at least they're putting some effort in there. So, like I said before, the show could have done without 4 matches. It could have done without the Hater match, the Jade match, the tag team match, the no disqualification tag team match. And we probably could have did without the goddamn tag team title match or that cage match, one or the other. They didn't really have strong storylines going into the Saraya and Britt Baker match. No strong storyline going into Hater and Tony Storm. No strong storyline going into the Fatal 4-Way, even though it was the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Jericho Appreciation Society, and they have been doing that for 2 months now. It still was kind of weak, and the match felt like it was thrown together. Because if Jericho's only wrestling guys who are former Ring of Honor World Champions, why is Sammy Guevara in that match? You know, we don't know. So there was a lot of weakness in the card. I think the work in and of itself was fine. There's a couple of times where somebody got dropped on their head and I was like, oof. But for the most part, it wasn't nearly as botchy as it usually is. So it was fine. I think it over delivered, but the show was still unimaginably long. And to me, just the pacing of the show, where it was just match, promo, match, and the only break that you got was the 10 to 15 second vignette before the next match starts. That you gotta let things breathe. You gotta let things breathe on these shows, man. Big things are happening. People are turning heel. People are losing titles. People are getting their hearts broken. People are, getting revenge for on their partners or whatever. Let them soak it in. Let us at home soak it in. You don't have to move on immediately to the next thing. Let Jungle Boy climb the cage and put his fist in the air and say, finally, I got that motherfucker. And everybody can be very happy and we can be like, yay, we can go to the bathroom, we can eat some popcorn, we can do whatever while he's celebrating and we can soak in that success. But when you just go right to the next thing, we're stuck in this seat and now we have to watch 3 hours of pay-per-view. It's very tough to get us to. You're asking a lot out of us, man. You're beating us to death here. But ultimately, again, I think it was pretty fine. But what did you guys think, the folks who were watching this show? Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll talk to you guys later.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.